Hello, my name is Scott Perez, and I'm going to be talking to you today about the Hofstede dimensions for the country of Malaysia. First, I'm going to describe to you this graph that I created using information from the Gert Hofstede website. As you can see, Malaysia has a high score in power distance, a lower score in individualism, a intermediate score in masculinity, a lower score in uncertainty avoidance and long-term orientation, and a higher score in indulgence. Now that I told you about the scores, let me tell you what that means exactly. The high power distance, generally in a high power distance culture, they are more hierarchical. They also are more centralized around the leaders. The managers tend to have more of a narrow span of control, meaning that they are in charge of a smaller group of people. The leaders in a high power distance culture are respected and revered. And naturally, in a high power distance culture, power and status are the main motivators. Malaysia also had a low score in individualism, which means that they are more of a collectivist culture. A collectivist culture puts a emphasis on the group decision making, taking care of the group. A main motivator is belonging to the group. The intermediate score on masculinity means that Malaysia cannot be described as either a masculine culture or a feminine culture due to them being right in the middle at 50. So there is not much more to talk about on this subject. With a low score on uncertainty avoidance, a low uncertainty avoidance culture tends to have more flexible schedules. Innovation is not seen as a threat in a low uncertainty avoidance culture. The low score on long-term orientation. A low long-term orientation society can also be described as a normative culture. They tend to have a great respect for tradition. They also tend to focus on short-term results, and they tend to have a concern with the absolute truth. The high indulgence score for Malaysia shows that they are willing to realize their impulses. They can be optimistic. They will relax and have fun. Their language can be described as a high context language. This meaning that information is communicated depending on the relationship and situation. It's important to pick up on the body language and nonverbal signs. In a high context language culture, sometimes everything is not said exactly. Everything is not spelled out for you. Malaysia also has a polychronic time orientation, and a polychronic time orientation culture. The idea is that time is unlimited and simultaneous. It expands to accommodate activities, and the best way to understand this is the classic meeting example. in a meeting for a polychronic culture, it may run late because the manager may stop and talk with a friend. The meeting may be interrupted due to the idea that time expands to accommodate these activities. Now finally, let's talk about proxemics and greeting. Now space in Malaysia is less of a physical concept in public. People, when walking, will bump into each other, but the idea is also that you do not show affection in public. That is kind of where the line is drawn. And in terms of greeting, men may shake hands with other men and may do a slight bow when shaking hands. And when women greet a Malaysian man, they may greet him with a bow of the head and a smile. And women may shake hands with other women. And men, when greeting Malaysian women, may bow or nod to greet the women. These are my references. Thank you for listening. That